I just want you to know that it's all about the kids.
It's always about the kids. Zip truth, the 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 zip truth.
Welcome to the Stiff Truth. I'm Bob West. I am here with Scott Casanova. We are very excited for episode 19. Can you believe it's 19 already?
Say what? I love that. Moving right along. How are you doing, Bob?
I'm doing good. I'm doing much better. I'm healing, but overall, everyone's doing really good around here. We had some great news last week, for work, but everything's been on the upward trajectory in the West House. How about you?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Spend most of the week, believe it or not, just fucking around and playing with the bearded dragon. Love that little guy or little girl. I'm not quite sure. We don't know the sex.
Is that an actual reptile or is that just like a pet name for your genitalia?
Oh yeah, well I called just that the dragon. It's not a bearded dragon, but no, it's actually
used to be.
Well, as you know, I shaved this morning, so it's not bearded anymore. But yes, the little lizard is cool as shit, man. But other than that, work week, whatever, it was all right. I had some fun yesterday, just studying and researching for the show, which I like to do on Saturday afternoons. So.
How dare you prepare and read? What kind of example are you trying to set?
I was just drinking. I was just practicing the stiff drink. That's all I was.
Okay, that's more appropriate. I don't want you throwing it out there that we should actually look things up, research things, and read. I just want to get my news off of Facebook and just blindly move forward.
Yeah, that's what I like doing too. I like having a cocktail while I'm sitting on the toilet taking a shit, just scrolling through my feed, looking at all the real news out there, right? That's how you do it, I thought.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
That's how I do it.
Good for you. Totally random. And I don't know if I'm the only person that thinks this sometimes, but I can't remember when it was. It was a couple days ago, sitting up, like just chilling in the living room. And do you know how sometimes like planes will fly overhead, but sometimes they can sound like a fucking missile that's being dropped and it's about to hit your house?
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, every time that happens, like there's a little part of me, it's like, oh shit, here we go. The Russians finally did it. They hit the button, or whatever country that we're having conflict with that time.
There's a list. Just pick a country.
Yeah, just really throw a dart anywhere in Asia or fucking Eastern Europe. But no, I slightly have, I guess, a little bit of PTSD left over from when we were really little kids, when it was still the Cold War, right? So
when we had our like bomb shelter drills and we had to hide under the desk at school,
yes.
That desk was gonna save you.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. And atom bombs got nothing against a couple pieces of wood and some metal, right? So, but no, I still get that kind of little anxious feeling. It's all, and you're oh fuck, here it comes, and then it never happens. I thought maybe I was the only one that does that. Do you freak out about that a little bit or no?
I don't. I've accepted my fate when it comes to that. Growing up, kind of in the time that we had those air raid drills and everything. So I spent a lot of time thinking about it younger in life and figured that if it's going to happen, it'll just happen. It'll be fairly painless, most likely, and that'll be that. So move on with your life like it's not going to happen. Hopefully it won't, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna, don't get me wrong. I don't like get scared and run and like hunker down in my bathtub.
There's a helicopter. It's the big one. Another real family.
I don't know. And I'm not like an aviation guy or whatever, but I don't know what kind of, because a lot of times planes just sound like fucking planes, but whatever those kind of planes are that sound like there's a fucking bomb being dropped, it's a different plane or something. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Well, they're the same jets. I mean, the jets are jets. I mean, some are 4 engines, some are whatever. But what it is it's the difference in like the winds, right? So if your winds aren't carrying those sounds away from you as much, and it has a clear path to you, they'll be exponentially louder, right? Than if you have a tailwind aiming right at the plane and taking it away from you, then it'll be much quieter. But if everything lines up and it's real clear from that plane to you, it can be crazy loud, like shaking your windows loud, right?
And that was Aviation Talk with Bob West.
Anyway, I'm no expert. I just play one on the Stiff Truth.
That's right, man. Well, speaking about an expert and just lack of, we had a few blunders last week, and I think you kind of addressed these, Bob. When I mean kind of, I think you put up a Instagram video explaining that there was some issues, but we didn't really get too far into it, right?
I'm going to blame the man. It was the man's fault. So
yeah, obviously
we have stood up to the man and corrected our issues.
Yeah. And one thing that we forgot to do is we didn't really forget to talk about the stiff drink. In fact, if you re-listen to it, I don't even think that we mention what we're having like later on. I can't remember.
We do mention it later on that we're having the Colorado Bulldog.
Yeah. We're talking. I think we said like having Mike Pence have a Colorado Bulldog with us or something. I'm totally lost it, but I had a power outage. That's actually what happened. And Bob was talking to himself for a while.
Which that whole event is on the Short and Stiff channel on YouTube if you guys want to check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So when we had to do some editing, unfortunately, to where it made sense, we ended up cutting out the part where we talked about the stiff drink, which was very weird because then when we came back on, we were talking about last week's stiff drink just because we liked the rusty nail so much the week before. I mean,
yeah, very, very confusing. How unprofessional are we? The bottom line is, if you guys want to know what our drinks are, they really are on our website. Go to thestifftruth.com. There's a drinks page, and you can get, I don't even know how many drinks are on there anymore, but there's a group of drinks on there, so you can always go there to check them out.
I would have to say hopefully there should be about 16 or 17, but I don't know if we kept up.
Well, there's a couple that I didn't put on there because we had red wine once, and obviously you poured the wine into a glass. There's no secret there. There's another one that I didn't put on there. I don't.
There's no secret.
I don't think I think we had straight Scotch one day on ice. I don't think I made that up there. So there's a couple of drinks that I didn't put up there. But
that makes sense. And we probably don't have the Boddington's Pub Ale on there either.
Right, exactly.
We could put directions like, here's the store closest to you. Check this.
Try the tip of the tab up with your index finger.
Well, it'd be cool if you could have like a little search bar like on the Boddington's. So Boddington's Pub Ale, where to get it. Put in your zip code, and then whoever on the website put in their zip code pulls up their nearest liquor store. You go and purchase it and pour it into a glass.
Which, damn it, Boddington's, we're willing to do that.
Yes, we are. Mm-hmm.
If you pay us to.
Or just send us some beer.
Or just do it for us and send us beer.
Yeah.
We'll let you. We'll let it happen. We'll just let it happen. Like prison style.
Oh, Jesus.
We'll just wait for it to end.
That's horrible.
Anyway.
Nothing funny about prison sex. Let's move right along. What do you say, huh? Well, actually, it's pretty funny. Soap on a rope. Oh, my goodness. Well, Bob.
Now that I have completely derailed us, let's get back in. Let's get back in.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
Go ahead. No.
No.
You have the floor, sir.
Okay. Well, I would like to talk about sports for a minute.
What are sports?
I know. It's this thing. It's like a competition, a friendly competition between a couple of teams usually. And there's usually a point system to win a game. It's pretty intense. I hear it's a big stress reliever and kind of a comforting thing for a lot of Americans too. That's why I'm bringing it up, buddies. I want to say this: we haven't had sports in a while, and what we are watching. Again, I was over at the.
That's not true, dude. I watched some bowling the other day. They were wearing their masks.
Were they really?
They were getting down.
Oh, weird.
Actual sport. Well, that's debatable, but they were doing things that involved points and winning.
That's what I'm trying to say, dude. Is we're either watching these like Ocho type sports on TV now because that's all that's left, or we're watching. What was it like? The 2009 Western Conference Finals. Dude,
great. I watched the
awesome.
Cornhole Championship. That's like legit right there.
No. No, Bob. No. But no, I have a sneaking suspicion here. I don't think I'm going out on a limb here, but our absence of having professional sports since COVID hit and the lockdowns, you got NBA season that was already like just humming along, screeching halt, baseball season. So many people.
Are they just going to give that one to the Lakers so LeBron can win one?
Well, weren't they proposing that they were going to come back in like July or something like that and do like just a like almost like a playoff type bracket tournament?
I think they took the top 22 teams and they're going to do like a college basketball tourney style event in Orlando at I don't know if it's at the Disney Resort or.
So the Milwaukee Bucks are out for the season then?
I don't know. I don't know who the bottom 8 are, to be honest.
I don't either. I'm trying to think who missed that.
Golden State is in the bottom 8. I can tell you that much.
Oh,
because apparently, if you don't have your players play, they lose games.
Huh? That's weird.
I know.
It's a weird little dynamic.
But the basketball season's over, right? Right now would be watching the NBA Finals, or it would have just ended. Like it's always like the first
early
week of June.
Yeah.
If we lose out on the basketball season, we'll start again soon. Is it even worth it at this point? I don't know. It's debatable. But like, let's talk about what Americans really care about as sports.
Yeah.
How is this affecting football? Are they going to be playing in empty stadiums? I don't know. That's the real thing, because this is it's a bigger thing than morale, right? Having the football season not function is a devastating multi-billion-dollar blow to the economy.
This is true. I heard something this morning, I believe it was too, and I kind of like this idea moving forward, but they're thinking about actually shortening preseason to 2 games versus 4. I guess a lot of players and coaches have been lobbying for this, not very hard, like crazy style, but it's too much. There's too much time for injury in the preseason. I mean, why not 4? Why not 6? You know what I mean? Why even have all this shit? So they're going to be taking it down to 2 and using those other 2 weeks to do conditioning.
Yeah, they should scrap the preseason anyway. Just let those guys that are fighting for those last 20 roster spots just kind of hash it out in like maybe inter-team scrimmages or something like that. I mean, hell, televise those if you want, because no one really cares about the preseason anyway, except for degenerate gamblers. But it's bad for the players. I mean, the only ones, it's a blatant exploitation of the players, to make money from the owners, selling tickets at close to the normal price, but they're selling concessions, they're selling booze, they're making all that money off of full stadiums because they still get plenty of people to go to preseason games. And it's just a money grab for the owners, but at the direct expense of the players, who's already playing the most violent sport in the world at a 16-game schedule. So
yeah, this is true.
I'd like to just see that go away anyway. Yeah. I'd rather have an 18-game season and have those games be real, because at least if they're going to be playing in a game and they're risking themselves, at least give them their normal salary and give them their normal, risk reward that they would face at any other week.
Yeah, this is true. No, I think it's a good thing all in all. And, honestly, I understand it's a huge money loss not to have people in the stands and all that stuff, but I don't give a fuck. I just want to see football, and I usually watch football from the comfort of my living room, and I'm not staring at the stands. So I could care 2 shits about that. Right. But the thing is, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about, okay, we haven't had sports, NBA, right? Like you just said, could have been enjoying the finals. It could have been a 7-game, awesome series, all this stuff. That's a huge morale dip for Americans, right? But I also think that's kind of escalated the unrest. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's been things happening like George Floyd and other racial tensions and police brutality and injustices there that definitely have spiked that up. But it's just more fuel to the fire if you think that. There's no way for a lot of Americans to escape and go watch a basketball game away from their kids, away from their wives. There's a lot of guys like that, right? They have their man caves too, where they just go with their boys and they watch sports, right? That hasn't been happening unless you're watching fucking like your ass over here, like COVID bowling matches or cornhole or something like that, which doesn't really grab as many people. Let's just face it, right? So,
which really, I wasn't watching it. I just saw it was on, and then I stopped, and I was like, "Look, they're doing it with masks." There's something to that. I think there's a lot of issues going on in America all the time. Right. It's by far not a perfect society. We don't do everything perfectly. In fact, we pretty much do everything at least a little bit wrong. But there's a lot of distractions in America because of the economy and the money and the luxury and the privilege that all Americans enjoy simply by being born into this society and this economy. Right. that there's a lot of distractions, whether it's sports or video games or dinners or going out and spending money in one fashion or another, right? But no one's been doing that lately. So I think right along what you were saying is just sports and entertainment in general.
Sure. Yeah.
Going out to whatever venue, concerts, whatever. We're not doing that, and it's affecting everything. It's affecting the economy. It's all like it's snowballing up, right? So there's something else to be said for opening up the country too, or figuring out creative ways. Like, they opened a drive-in here in Albuquerque again.
Awesome. Love it.
Right. So, creative ways to at least get people out there. But yeah, we need our sports, and I don't know how they're planning on doing this, but maybe they should just do like the Spotify model. You get to watch your football for free, but then you have a commercial like every third down.
Yeah, there you go.
Or you pay a premium so that there's still revenue going on. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I do know that we need it.
Yeah, and it's interesting what you brought up too, just about like the revenue from people buying drinks and stuff like that at football games. I was seeing something that obviously this totally makes sense, right? Alcohol sales from liquor stores and grocery stores up like 25-30% during lockdowns and COVID, right? Which totally makes sense, but the alcohol industry in general still losing a shitload of money because of all the way higher priced beers and things like that at football games, at basketball games, at concerts and festivals. That's a lot of lost revenue right there, which, you know what? Fuck them, especially the big beer companies and shit like that. They can take a little hit, and that's kind of like my little fuck you for paying $9.50 for a beer. All right, so
$9.50. That's a deal. Where are you going?
I know exactly, right.
I paid $18 for a Jack and Coke.
I do remember when what was it? It was a decent amount of time ago when I went to Ozfest. I want to say it was 2005 or something like that. Literally, dude, had like $100 for beer. Right, I figured, I'm going to be here all day. $100 for beer. The beers
That's a fun morning.
Yeah. I think the beers were like $14.50 or something like that.
Was that at the Isleta Amphitheater?
Oh yeah. So, and literally about 4 beers later, I'm out of money, hot in the sun, just like, okay, Jesus, what a pain in the ass. And then I want to be that guy that sneaks in like his own cooler of like Busch Light or something like that. You know the guy.
You don't want to tape a bag of vodka to your crotch in the chode area to go have a good time?
Oh, I already do that everywhere I go. I even do that when I go to the grocery store, man. It gets stressful there.
It's just like this special camel pack I brought. It's for my vodka.
Somebody asks you a question in the grocery store, you just take a big sip like you're all fucking anxious. Hold on, were you speaking to me?
Just breathing fire after every drink.
But yeah, dude, it kind of goes right along with entertainment in general. I think America loves sports, but entertainment in general. It's the last time you went to the movies, man. I mean, even that is a lovely little decompressor on the weekends.
The Joker. That was a long time ago.
Jesus Christ. Actually, I think I saw that one too in the theater. That might have been my last movie too. That's fucking sad, isn't it?
Yeah, I took a couple of kids that were like, 11 and 12, because I'm a good father.
You're a good man.
Come, kids, let's ruin your childhood. Come watch the Joker with me.
He's all, this is how you're supposed to be when you're a well-adjusted young man. Watch the screen.
Here comes CPS to my house.
All right. Well, hey, we need it. We need it back. I need it back. Please don't fuck up the football season, guys. Whatever you do out there, I don't know who's in charge of this. Goodell, the Players Association, who's going to make the final decision. I guess this is all pending. We don't have a fucking ridiculous spike of COVID or something like that in the late fall, like some people are predicting with their models or what have you.
Yeah, I don't want them to take our football away from us, like HBO took away Gone with the Wind.
Wow, you just did that, huh?
I did that.
Yeah,
Speaking of, your Gone with the Wind poster behind you is it's so fantastic. I can't stop staring at it. I mean, your eyes are mesmerizing, but the poster's just really got me this time.
I believe it's watercolors or something. I don't know what it is.
No, it's got a real Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of a vibe. It's just amazing. Anyway,
I just painted this morning too, so I'm glad you like it.
Good for you. Good for you.
Well, I guess we're getting right into it then, aren't we, Bob? We're kind of skipping ahead a little bit here, but let's talk about it. What do you think about this, man?
Well, first, I think that I'm not a huge fan of knee-jerk reactions in general, and that's what has the makings here of this knee-jerk reaction coming from HBO. I understand, but if anytime someone got upset, you changed your platform or your business model, you would never have clear direction, and you'd never have clear leadership or guidance, and someone else is always going to be running the show.
Yeah.
Which, if you're talking about America and protest and whatever, people do run America. This is a democratic republic. But if you're talking about a private company, strikes me as a little bit odd. If you want to have that, normally you're going to have like a bunch of meetings, like, hey, I want to change the direction of the vision and a little bit of this. Let's start seeing what we can do to implement this most effectively and seeing the best approach. Not just, oh my God, some people got upset, quick, pull it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and this is what's upsetting to me about it is, one, okay, I get it. They're a private company. They can do what they want. They're doing something right now. It's very timely. It's suspiciously timely, right? It's obviously timely if you just want to call it out for what it is. They're doing it because of the racial injustice and the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement right now. Not the one from like 4 or 5 years ago, right now. Because if HBO would have felt so strongly about the racial just how would we even call what is Gone with the Wind? Because it's racially accurate for the time period that it depicts. So,
well, you're chastising Gone with the Wind for a time period in America that was racist. It's not Gone with the Wind's fault that Americans were racist. Well, are racist, right? It's not a movie's fault that's a certain time history, especially like where do you draw the line on that? Like, I'm going to make a movie about slavery. Well, I can't make a movie about slavery because it involves slavery. Well, and what if there's some important movie to be made there?
And think about the harm of erasing that slavery happened or that Black people were treated and looked at like they were in the 1800s or even all the way up to the Civil Rights Movement. I see there's more harm with kind of removing it completely because people are going to be ignorant to it. And when you don't have history to learn from, it will easily repeat itself, right? So that's something I have an issue with right there. But other than that here's the other really big thing. When I say timely, very suspiciously timely, is like if HBO felt this strongly about the movie depicting Black people in a negative way and being highly racist, take out that it was a movie that was from the Civil War era and that it was made in the 1930s, not exactly our most progressive time period either yet. Why didn't they take it off 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
70 years ago. This movie's almost 100 years old.
Exactly. The point is like you said, it's a knee jerk. It's a grab to look good in front of America right now. They want to be part of the movement, part of the solution. So they go ahead and they pull this little maneuver. I thought it was pretty pathetic, to be honest with you.
I agree. I think it's being so sensitive to react to something that it's insensitive. Like, we're going to have to take this movie down because Black Americans can't handle it. That's ridiculous. Americans have handled Gone with the Wind forever. It's arguably one of the better cinematic achievements ever in the history of film. Like, it's up there on everyone's like top 10 list, right? If not a top 5 list. So it's very weird that all of a sudden, some people can't handle this movie being up there. If you want to throw a disclaimer on the front that says, parental discretion is advised. This, movie depicts, slavery or racism or whatever. That's one thing, but that's a quick throw it up before the film. That's not a let's pull the film. And I don't know if they're planning on editing or what the deal is, or if it's just going to be forever pulled. Or it's a
temporary pull that they're going to add context to, right? So basically what they're doing is they're making Gone with the Wind version for dummies, is pretty much what they're doing. So anybody that walks in has no fucking understanding of history, the Civil War era, the 1930s, you have to get this disclaimer because I'm sorry, you're a fucking moron if you don't understand that how Black people are being portrayed is just a depiction of that time. It's nothing more.
Well, I don't know. It's almost disrespectful. Like, that Black Americans can't handle it. Like, you guys can't handle this racist film. We're just gonna pull it away. I don't get it. What's the plan? Are they gonna make it like a VH1 pop-up video?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
bloop. Kids, racism is bad. I don't know.
This is not how African Americans talk in real life.
Just like this weird,
okay, fine.
this weird bubble conversations that pop up.
Well, that's an interesting point you brought up there. Is it HBO kind of saying, hey, black people, you guys can't handle this? Or, whoa, white people, you guys are already fucking racist enough. We don't need to reinforce it with this hardcore racist movie either. Oh, no, that's dangerous.
No one's watching that movie anymore, man.
Oh, my wife loves that movie, though. Jamie loves that movie. I think it might be one of her favorite movies of all time.
And it is a lot of people, but does she watch it all the time? I mean, that's what I'm saying.
It's kind of disgusting. 4 times this morning. She was up in the middle of the night, too.
It's on a loop in one of our rooms. It just constantly plays so that any passerbys can get their Gone with the Wind in.
It's been worrying me, Bob. Help me. I'm going to blink. Here, help me. I'm being held hostage, and it's been playing over and over again. No, but seriously, where does it end? Like you said, too. There's other examples too, and I get it, right? I understand the logic behind people wanting to take down like the Robert E. Lee statue, right, and all this stuff. And they totally. Have you seen it recently? It's totally tagged up and defaced and everything. It kind of looks kind of cool. I'll be honest with you. It kind of looks like this post-apocalyptic kind of fucking.
No, I haven't really been paying attention to the statue things. A lot of those statues are already on a planned decommission anyway. In general, so not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them are. I just think that it's important to acknowledge a statue like that, right? I really don't like the idea of people saying, well, the Confederacy is part of our heritage. Well, slow down. The Confederacy was a 5-year state that illegally seceded from the U.S. and then got into a war with the U.S. and got their ass handed to them, right? So let's not say that it's exactly a huge part of American heritage, because it was a 5-year nation state that failed, right, because of their illegal secession, right? So I don't buy that argument of that it's a huge part of our American culture and heritage, not the Confederacy itself. If you want to talk about the southern colonies and the southern states and the southern way of life, that's the heritage, not the fucking 5-year legal secession fucking war that was 160,000+ Americans killed over 5 years. That's ridiculous. Well, now, someone made those statues. They were important figures. They mattered. Shit, Robert E. Lee almost had that war won for them until, it turned late in the war and they started losing, right? But there was a point in time where the South and the Confederacy had all the momentum, and it, by all accounts, looked like they were going to win that war, right?
They were actually better soldiers too. There just wasn't as many of them, and that's where the Union had them. They had more firepower, artillery, and more men.
And the Navy.
They could just keep sending waves and waves and waves, and the Confederates would actually hold their ground for a while. But the numbers and the numbers and the advantage of firepower and arsenal was it was too much.
Right. So we can't forget those people. Now, to put a monument in the middle of town, maybe not so much, but to tear the monument down and ruin it, that's way overboard, right? It's already a statue that's been made. It's an important historical figure, whether they're good or bad. I mean, Hitler's an important historical figure. He's a terrible person, but he's very important in the history of the world. So we need to acknowledge and remember him and study what he did, right? And then on the Robert E. Lee side, right? So that statue, sure, put it down, but just move it somewhere. It belongs in the fucking Confederate Museum.
It sure does.
Right?
Absolutely. Dude, there's museums of torture and shit like that. You know what I mean? People.
Oh, I know.
Oh, well, not that kind of torture, Bob.
I'm a curator of some torture museums.
Woo! Okay. I appreciate that, Bob. I do. I always do. I lost my train of thought for a minute there. You derailed me slightly. But no, getting back to it, yeah, they should be in a museum. This is something where it is a part of our history. We can't forget it. We can't glaze over it. We can't cover it up, remove it. That's not smart either. We should know that this happened. The other thing is this. you brought it up, and I was actually going to bring this up too. People kind of bring up this comparison of, there were a lot of monuments to Hitler during the Third Reich, right? During his time. The motherfuckers, the Germans ripped that shit down, burned it, defaced it, everything. They did the same thing with some old Roman emperors too that were very bad to the people. Like they just defaced them, erased them from the history books. This is different than Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee's his one position was not to literally push just the slavery movement. That wasn't his focal point, nor was he a guy that said we need to eradicate all African American people and put them in, camps or whatever. That's what Hitler did. Hitler's main goal was to the final solution was to get rid of an entire race of people and put his, Aryan nation as the forefront, right? That is a little bit more extreme than somebody that was a general for the Confederate Army, especially with the Confederacy. Slavery was just a element of what they stood for.
Yeah, he could have given two shits about slavery.
Yeah, he could really give the shit less. It was more about, like, as you know, production and farming and things like that. That's kind of the tie with slavery, but there was a lot more to the Civil War than slavery, and the Confederates weren't solely focused on the just demolishment of a race or anything like that. That was Hitler's game. That was some of the old Roman emperors' games. So, yeah, get rid of those fucking statues because they're not erasing Hitler, but they're erasing any kind of glorification from him, right? Any kind of temple statues, all the shit he put up. The statue of Robert E. Lee, like you said, though, you can't really compare him to Hitler at all. So, again, I think that's just, you can't deface it, remove him or whatever. Put him in a fucking museum next to some other douchebags, right? I don't know. Some old guys wearing wigs, right? Those white wigs. Those are the kind of guys we like.
Yeah, and I agree. I think a lot of times the people do forget that there is a lot of reasons why the South was trying to secede and that whole war happened to begin with. A lot of it was about military. A lot of it was about economics. A lot of it was about unfair trade with the North and the South. The South would make all of these textiles and everything, and then they'd send them up North, and they'd get jammed on pricing. They'd get jammed all the time with import taxes and all this weird stuff that they had. So there's a lot more to it. So if you guys don't know kind of why the Civil War happened, you should probably go, take a look. It's in a book. It's reading Rainbow. But
I was about to say, yeah, go pick up a fucking book, a history book, and read it for a little bit.
There's fantastic books about why the Civil War happened. But again, like, I don't agree with the demolishing of, American history. Because even though they were a failed nation state attempt at leaving America, while that wasn't federally recognized because the Constitution says you have to secede a certain way, right? And all the states have to ratify the secession and all of that. So that whole time where they were acting like the Confederate States of America, they were not. They were the United States of America, right? And that was that was the whole problem, right?
Yeah.
So they are Americans, but again, we don't have to glorify their statues, but tearing them down it's another knee-jerk reaction, right? You're going to tear down the statue because you're uncomfortable with it being there.
Now? Hold on, right now, too? You
right.
20 years ago, but now it's too much? Come on, dude.
So I agree that I don't think a statue of Robert E. Lee or Jefferson Davis should be in the middle of fucking town square. Yeah. I think that's highly inappropriate, and it always has been, right?
Yeah.
They should have moved that thing years ago.
That's kind of the borderline. Is it just a monument of history, or is it a glorification? You know what I mean? Are they putting him up as saying, hey, we revere this man. God, we wish he was back. We wish the Confederacy was back.
What's both, kind of right? Yeah. So there's people that see it and they're just like, oh, that was part of our history, right? And then there's people that see it as the glorification. Right, that was a great man right there. If he had just won, and there's those people, right?
It's weird because they usually talk like that too, which is interesting.
Yeah, they
not saying anything about the South, but you guys are kind of racist.
Hey, everywhere is racist. But,
I know. I'm just messing around. I love Southerners.
So again, there's a better way to do things, and if you want something done, just get a hold of your counselors and say, hey, we demand that you move this. We're gonna keep fucking hounding you until you guys move this statue, instead of just everyone going out there with a bunch of dualies or whatever and just pulling down the statue and just ruining it forever. I understand the anger and understand the hatred, but again, why were you not angry at that Robert E. Lee statue 8 years ago enough to go just pull it down? So if you weren't angry enough to do it then, and you're not going to be angry enough in a few years to do it then, do it the right way. You know, there's a civil process in America that we should all adhere to, and we should all try to put our best version of ourselves forward and stop the madness, right? We need to wrangle it back in. Even the protests and everything right now have gone more towards civil disobedience and demonstrations and less towards the violence and the looting, more and more every day, right? And things are changing. I mean, a law was just passed in Colorado. It looked fantastic from what I read.
Yeah, no, I was pretty proud. And you're right. I mean, here's the really funny part too, again, about ignorance and educating yourself. I don't know if you saw this. I thought it was kind of ironic and funny, but I believe it was in Philadelphia where there still is a decent amount of looting and rioting going on compared to other places. I don't know if I can't say that current to date, but there was just more going on there. But they show this guy that's looting and stuff, and he's trying to deface and pull down a statue of what looks like an old, again, wig-headed kind of just racist American guy. Little did he know, though, that he was I can't remember the guy's name, but a long-standing abolitionist that was trying to get rid of slavery for like the first 30 years of his life. And of course, since he just looked like some old white guy statue, they're literally defacing something that somebody stood up for when it wasn't popular at all to be an abolitionist. You know what I mean?
All you white guys look the same. So it doesn't matter.
I don't know what to say about that one because I don't look like every white guy. I'm an individual.
Well, I think the bottom line is how we do things in America is we go to the polls, right? Again, with the whole democratic republic, the power to this country belongs to the people, not the people in power, right? So we have to go to the polls and we have to vote, and we have to be knowledgeable about what we're voting. Again, take a look. It's in a book. It's reading Rainbow. We got to get our research on with these candidates so that we can have more of a voice and be heard. In November, that's when it all goes down. It is during voting season, and the people want change, and that's fine. But the best way to enact change in America is to get a grassroots movement going and go to the polls and make change happen.
Hey, hashtag part of the solution, baby. Get out there and vote, right?
So speaking of the polls, I believe we have another topic that we needed to talk about, about voting and politics in general.
Yeah, I don't want to show my true colors here or anything like that. But yeah, we do need to talk about this because it's the same routine every 4 years or 2 years, depending on what election that you're talking about. But really annoyed, Bob. I'm really annoyed with the team on the right, team on the left. There's no other team, right? People complain every single election. We've done it just multiple times in the show. Again, we feel like we're in this position like we were in the last election too. We have to pick the least worst.
Seems so familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's eerily familiar. The least worst of two options, right? And we start getting to this time now where the Libertarians, Green Party, other parties start announcing their nominees, right? They kind of trickle in a little bit later in the election year. One is they don't nearly have as much funding as Republicans and Democrats. So we got people starting to come up now, and then you have people that are moderates in the middle, independents that start, well, you know what? I really, really, really find this Libertarian or this Green Party person's views and their policies very refreshing. They don't sound really anything like the right or the left. And then this kind of paradigm way of just shitty old way of thinking starts clicking in their head as they start going to the voting booth. It's like, if I do that, my one friend that's voting for Trump says if I vote for Joe Jorgensen, the Libertarian candidate, then I'm basically just giving my vote away, right? I'm just giving it to Biden or vice versa, right? So then a lot of people kind of
giving it to whoever loses.
Exactly, right? It's conveniently, you just gave away your vote. You wasted your vote to whoever didn't fucking win, right? So yeah, always happens. But then you got a lot of people that really find a lot of these third party values and just more in line with theirs. But they end up getting to the voting booth and last minute, they're like, dude, I really just want to be on the winning team, and I don't want to be responsible for the other guy winning because I'm wasting my vote. That way of thinking, this archaic dinosaur bullshit of there is only Republican and Democrat and that's it. Boy, I think it's got us in, let's just face it, these past 2 elections, if there was even just one more candidate that had equal funding and equal screen time and equal time on the debate floor, do you think that we'd be stuck with the least worst of? I don't know. What's your thoughts on this, Bobby?
I'm glad that you said the least worst of, because it is eerily similar, like 2016, when we're picking the least worst of, right? It's very strange that we keep pushing these 2 parties, and the 2-party system could very well lead to the demise of our republic, right?
Oh, dude, I'm glad, just because in my mind, both of them, if you look at party line, partisan, they're both batshit crazy to me. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's simple math, right?
Well, wait, hold on. I'm no Andrew Lang, so you might need to spell it out for me.
So if you have two different ideologies in a country, it can lead to a civil war. We've seen it all the time, right? I've never seen a civil war against 3 factions. Have you?
That's interesting. Usually it's between 2 people. You're absolutely
right.
right.
I've never seen that third party like enter in the fray, right? So,
Ooh,
having
nice choice of words, by the way. Enter in the fray. I like that.
If you have that third party, that's a viable party, then it mixes it up and it gives people that option, and it lowers the animus between the other 2 parties that want to kill each other. It gives that outlet. It's that pressure release valve, right? And I'm not saying that everyone has to go vote libertarian. Hypothetically,
no, that's what I'm saying.
Hypothetically,
I think the bag.
It's important for us to have a third party. I know that Jess and I have always talked about wanting a third party, someone else to vote for, right? And it may not necessarily be libertarian. It could be anyone else in the next 30 years or whatever. It could be anything that comes up that's can split this 2-party system up. It's not like we're getting caught off guard with this 2-party system creating problems in a republic. George Washington warned us about this like 250 years ago. Like this is not something that's new, right? This is something that has been known for the history of America, and here we are, the same as it ever was. We're still fighting over the 2-party system ever since that second president was elected. It's ridiculous, and it's detrimental to America, and it's either we need a third party or we all need to move to like Wisconsin so our vote matters. I don't know.
You go to Wisconsin, I'll go to Iowa. Somebody's got to go to Pennsylvania. There's these key battleground states.
Who's going to Michigan, baby? Not me.
Not me. Fuck that shit.
Nah, I don't care. It's funny that I say that because like here I am in New Mexico. Anyway, if you don't catch the irony of that, I'm not going to explain it. But
you guys don't have a lot of you don't have a lot to say.
Well, I mean, no, New Mexico has never influenced an election positively or negatively in any way for any candidate.
I think Colorado used to be. I don't know how much of it is now. I mean, yeah, but you're right. Nobody really gives a shit about who wins our states. Let's just face it. Nobody gives a shit.
2 million people. We have 5 electoral votes. That means a dick.
Yeah.
It's like us in Rhode Island.
Well, and here's going back to it though. I mean, here's the other thing that I see, and you, I'm sure you know this. You're a studied man, but you go back to George Washington's time. There was a lot more parties.
Yeah,
the Federalist Party, this and that. There was like 4 or 5 different parties that were legitimate for a while, and they keep kind of changing and whatever. But fast forwarding back to where we are now. And again, when we say third party, I am not, and I joke around, I'm not talking, I'm pushing libertarian as the third party.
Well, that's the only third party right now.
That's the only third party right now. There's the Unity Party, there's the Green Party, whatever. There's other parties, but the problem is nobody can get any momentum. The libertarians have the strongest, I guess, foundation because, it's based off the fucking Constitution and liberty. So people kind of, they get that. But still, if you have a third party in the mix too, let's talk about economics and business. When you have more people that can compete with you, what is that going to force all three people to do, right?
Well, it also like who do corporations buy at that point? It's very confusing to buy your senators when there's three parties.
Exactly. But yeah, so in my mind, I think we got better Republicans and better Democrats if we have a stronger third party presence too, because it will force them to compete with the libertarians and vice versa, right?
Yeah, and it'll force the talking points. It'll mess the talking points. It'll force collaborations and bipartisan efforts. Like, I
No.
agree. It'll actually change the landscape of how America handles its politics and legislation.
And unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet, but hopefully this is the election year, just because I got to imagine someday, especially like 2020, Trump losing a lot of steam right now with his popularity. I'm sure you've seen the recent polls and everything. He's kind of tanking right now with just likability and overall.
No, that's fake news, dude.
Well,
Come on.
Okay, can I say this? Allegedly, he's tanking.
Thank you. Thank you for qualifying that.
And I'm sure there's just as many Democrats right now, too, that are like, God, Joe is senile. I just can't trust this guy, dude. I mean, is he even going to know what he's doing in the White House? You would think maybe there's going to be finally this breaking point where people are like, you know what? I'm going to get out of that fucking way of thinking. I'm going to make a little paradigm shift here and say my third party vote can matter, because all they fucking need to do is get 15%, right? 15%
to be in the debate.
And they're in the debates, dude. And that is when finally, I won't say the gloves are off, like hands down, landslide libertarian, but it'll be the first time that I want to say, and I hate to say it, but probably about 75% of the American public has no fucking clue what the libertarians stand for. And if they do think they do understand, it's usually like, oh, they don't have any rules. They don't want any taxes. They're fucking anarchy. No. That's not how it works at all. So it would be really great for them to actually get on the debate stage, especially right now. These things that they're talking about, reforming the police, all these civil liberties and everything, like a lot of things that people are writing and protesting about right now is stuff that the Libertarian Party has been advocating for like 50, 60 years, which I think is kind of interesting. But to finally get somebody on the stage to combat with these two dinosaur white men too would be fantastic. It would just be fantastic.
We haven't seen a third party candidate hit a debate since like Ross Perot and Ralph Nader.
And the only reason Ross Perot could do it is he's a fucking billionaire. That's how he could do it. That's the only way. And you know what? He did get a decent amount of votes for a pure independent, right? He came on as an independent. He didn't have like a party affiliation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, he wasn't a Green Party. I'm pretty sure he was just independent. Ralph Nader was great. In fact, Ralph Nader, if I remember right, actually won Washington and Oregon in the presidential race. He actually won 2 states.
Good old Nader.
That might be the only time that's ever happened, at least in my lifetime.
No. Well, and here's the other thing too. I think if you blindly polled people, hey, these are blah, blah, blah. Do you believe in this? Do you believe that? Do you believe this? Blah, blah, blah. And they didn't know what would help. I think a lot more people would come up with more libertarian or third party kind of stances than a lot of people think.
What would happen if you went to go vote and you couldn't vote for a Democrat or Republican, but they just had a list of names with a list of platform issues that they stand for? I wonder how the votes would go at that point if people actually knew what their platforms were instead of blindly voting for their party.
How about removing the fucking R, the L, and the D by everybody's name and actually make people fucking research every single candidate, not based off of their party affiliation, but exactly their platform, their stance, what they're actually going to do.
That's like how judges do it, dude. When you vote for a judge, it's very like difficult to like find kind of where they fall, because they're supposed to be like nonpartisan, but we all know that they voted for people throughout their life, and everyone has a political stance one way or the other usually. So you're trying to figure out like with these judges of who's up for election, who am I going to vote for, and it's like impossible to find out like where they stand or get more information on these judges. Must be nice to run that way. They just like run in the dark.
Well, I think it would be great, too, because if you got those mouth breathers that just vote party line all the time, too, and they know nothing about politics, nothing about the issues besides what they hear on CNN or Fox or whatever it is, they literally go and they like, okay, D, okay, I'm voting for that guy because he's a Democrat. I'm voting for that guy because or vice versa, right? Remove all that. It would force people to do what they hate to. You'd actually have to get out there and research stuff and understand everybody's platforms, which anyways, get out there and vote. And if you're feeling squirrely, vote Libertarian this year.
Well, I'm feeling squirrely. I would like to get a drink in me.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to stick my finger in your ass again.
I mean, not until I've had a drink.
Oh, okay. Jeez, is that rough? Is it really that rough? Do I need to cut my fingernails?
I've been telling you for years. You know, I'm not down with the Lestat thing. It's just
Dude, it's my coke nail, right? All right, buddy. Well, let's go get ourselves a cocktail then, huh?
Let's go do it.
All right, man.
I just want you to know that it's all about the kids.
It's always about the kids. Zip truth, the 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 zip.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Bobby. How we doing, bud?
We're doing good.
Mic check. 1, 1, 2. Recording. All right, we're doing good. All right.
Hope is eternal. Hope springs eternal. So,
Bob, check this out. I'll show you something here.
oh, that's goddamn beautiful.
Isn't that nice? And then look
There's
at this.
mine.
Because these things sweat so much, the 2-pack that I bought, they even come with their cute little own coasters.
Oh, that is just dainty.
Copper Rose.
So, cheers, buddy.
Cheers to the Moscow Mule. Yes, yeah.
Moscow Mule. Let's get it.
Put it down. Now, Bob, like I was telling you prior to the show, as I was researching, which I always do on Saturday, booze-wise, Moscow Mule, 1.5 ounces of vodka, 3 parts ginger beer. I tried it. I finished it in like 4 minutes, and I was like, cool. Now I need to go have like a couple of shots of vodka. You know what I mean? It just wasn't enough. So today, after understanding and manipulating the recipe to be more Scotty-like, it's got 3 ounces of vodka and like 1 part ginger beer.
And how much lime are we working with?
I squeezed a half a lime, and then I just, window dressing here, just a little bit on the lime.
Just wanted to be on the same page. So I also squeezed a half a lime, went with 2 shots of vodka, and just how much ever ginger beer I could fit in the rest of that glass at that point. That was for me.
See, that's how me and Bob make a stiff drink. We just up the stiffness.
But then I've also got my other double sitting next to me for when this one runs out. So
wow, I did not come prepared. That's okay.
You don't have 2 mugs? You can't double fist it?
I do have 2 mugs. I just made one very strong, and I thought it would be okay.
We'll get Mike Pence out here to show you how.
Yeah, he knows a lot about that kind of stuff. Yeah, he's going to be in the remake of Cocktail. He's playing, Tom Cruise's character. Can you imagine?
I knew it.
Now, for everybody that doesn't know, Moscow Mule, actually very, very popular drink, and I have to be the first to admit this. I never had one before yesterday.
It's very refreshing.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like the vodka version of a mojito.
Yeah.
Like very much that kind of zest and refreshingness. A summer drink, definitely.
It's definitely a summer drink. And yeah, I'd never had one before. I've always heard the name. The name is very catchy, right? So when we were thinking about doing this, I'm like, that's all that's in it? Some lime, some ice, some ginger beer, and vodka? Cool. Easy enough. Then I, of course, as you know, you're like a little over the top. I went and got the little fancy copper mugs because that's usually what they're served in.
Yeah, next time just drop ship me one, Dick. Thanks for that.
I need to because I'm just going to write it off anyways.
Synergy.
Oh, man. And again, just in case if anybody's in the same boat as me, that was a Moscow Mule virgin before this weekend. It is 1 ounce. This is just the standard recipe. 1.5 ounces vodka, half squeeze of lime, ginger beer with a cup full of ice. Boom, bam, you're done.
Yeah, it is fantastic. I've had a sip of one before, but it was a pre-made one from a local brewery or distillery. I think it's a distillery here in town that one of my friends works for, and she had brought one over and had a 4-pack, and they're really potent little guys, right? But I just had a taste. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. But I'd never made one myself until today. So now that I know they're like that good, and Costco vodka is so delicious and cheap, this might be more of a regular at the Old West household in the summertime, especially.
Hell yeah. Thank you, 5 times distilled Costco vodka. We love you.
We do love you. We do love you.
$12.99 a handle. Get right out of town. I'll never stop plugging that because I was in Costco, yes, Saturday, as I, normally do, my little routine there. Every time I walk by the vodka, even if I'm not buying it, I look at it, I'm like, $12.99. Jesus
you gotta
Christ.
buy it.
I know, Jesus Christ, that's a fucking good deal, man.
It's like I get a handle of vodka every time I go to Costco, regardless of my liquor count. At home
because it's just a good purchase. And honestly, as you know, the blended Scotch, $17.99. Get out of town, dude.
Yeah, that's what's up. And I'm getting dangerously low. So Costco, be seeing you soon.
Cheers to that.
So yeah, great idea on the Moscow Mule. I don't know who to give credit to. I remember brainstorming about it, but it just kind of came up in our conversation. I'll go ahead and say that. Thanks, Scott. I'll give you the credit.
Sure. I don't even remember the conversation's details that much. I think I had a few cocktails when we were talking, but it was a joint effort, right? So, and that's always good. I'll tell you one thing, Bob. When we went to go get our drinks too, I was like, it smells horrible, like cat shit, all of a sudden. So I don't know if you noticed, it took me a little bit longer than usual to get back. I went ahead and scooped up and cleaned the cat box that's in the other room because my little buddy, he left I don't know what the hell. I don't know if it's like he's dying or something like that, but a real nasty, juicy, wet one.
When did you start eating enchiladas, Cat? This is fucked up.
Oh man, but yeah, it was rancid. So I had to do a quick little cleaning there because he just dropped a bomb in there, and I think he runs off giggling too. He's gonna love that one.
Scott, it doesn't really matter. We break as long as we feel like breaking, because in the end, it's only about 13 seconds for our listeners.
Isn't that weird?
Freaking magic of production. Well, so I want to get down to the stiff truth today, and I as you can tell from my picture here,
Bob's defacing public property.
Not so subtle. We want to talk about the defund the police movement. The reason that I really wanted to talk about this is because I'm seeing a lot of not even misinformation about like people that don't want to research and read. Take a look. It's in a book. It's reading Rainbow. So there's a theme. I swear that's going to be the name of this episode. But a lot of rhetoric out there that I'm hearing from people tells me that people aren't actually like looking at what this means. Because I'm getting a lot of people, especially on social media, telling me that we can't get rid of cops. You're right. Fucking A. Correct. We cannot get rid of cops.
Finally, their shining expertise comes through on social media correct once, right?
Real, we're a country that's based off of fucking law and order. We have to have laws. And to enforce those laws, we have to have police officers. That is who enforces those laws. Without police officers, you would have the option to follow a law or not, and that doesn't work. That leads to anarchy. So,
yeah, and like I've told you before, people are inherently pieces of shit, evil people. So if they don't have any guidance in any enforcement, and let's not even just say America is a society built off law and order.
Humans.
Any fucking working society is a society based off of law and order and understanding of your social contract, right? So yeah, getting back to it, I mean, there's been a lot of people just kind of blowhards saying on the right, defunding the police is the stupidest thing ever. I don't know what the fuck the Dems are thinking. And let's give a little bit of credit here for the people that are on the conservative side that are, of course, are not opening the book or not even clicking on the fucking article on Facebook. They're literally just reading the title, which is usually clickbait anyways. But the one thing that I think we can both agree on right away is defunding is definitely, and I know that's the chant and the movement, the t-shirts they've made. I mean, there's merch out there now. Maybe it was a poor choice of wording because it does lead people to believe if they're not going to open up that book that they're completely getting rid of police or any kind of law and order, right?
And I do want to point out that this just isn't like a conservative viewpoint that I'm hearing that people don't understand what's happening. There are actually people out there that are protesting, believing that they're protesting to get rid of police.
Yeah. 100%.
That really is the thing. So it's on both sides. You have
Mhm.
ignorance that's saying, let's get rid of the police. And no, you can't get rid of the police. But I want to dig a little bit down into what defunding the police actually is, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a bunch of examples about Americans loving to throw money at problems to try to get them to go away, right?
That doesn't work.
So Los Angeles has a $6 billion police annual budget. Fucking, that's with a B. That's like,
Now,
I don't even know, like a tenth of the gross national product of California.
And again, I'm no Andrew Lang, but I do know billion is a very large number.
That's a lot of fucking money. So defunding the police, basically, it's we've been policing and militarizing the police for a long time, right? Let's get them more ability to enforce the law, even though the laws may be fucking ridiculous. They're so ridiculous, right?
I haven't heard ridiculous in a while. Thanks for bringing that one back.
You're welcome.
That takes me back to about, I want to say that takes me back to about 2003 or 4. That's a good one.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm
a happy guy right now.
So instead of always throwing money treating the symptoms of this disease, we need to look at eradicating the disease. So defunding the police really says, let's look at our laws. What are we fucking enforcing, right? Drug laws, biggest thing that comes up in my mind. That's a problem, right? I hear it from Candace Owens about how many single moms there are in the Black community, and that's what's eroding. And it's not necessarily a Black thing. It's more of a poor thing. Yes, because of racial profiling, it leads to more of a Black thing when you're poor, but it's a poor problem in general. So what you have here is you have a lot of people getting thrown in jail for crimes that involve the black market of the drug trade. Right. So if you look at places that don't have those drug laws, where if you get caught with drugs, you pay a fine. If you get caught a few times, you might have to get involved in a program and be forced to do some things and rehab your thought process or whatever. But simply getting rid of the black market for a lot of these drugs eliminates a lot of those crimes. So then the police don't have to enforce laws regarding those crimes. Right. So that takes away a huge chunk of that. It takes away a need for funding. It takes away a need for funding from the police, and you move it over to somewhere else to deal with the drug problems because the drug laws aren't on the book. Kind of another Joe Jorgensen thing, right? Is let's decriminalize those drug laws and quit throwing people in prison for fucking weed or the black market, sales that went wrong and someone got killed because of money was exchanging hands without taxation. So
I'll just say one thing. Yeah. JoJo 2020. JoJo 2020.
So beyond all of that, that's an example of a symptom that we keep treating without actually looking at the problem and the disease that's creating that symptom. So when you want to defund them, we need to evaluate what we're using our police for and why. Because when you call 911, an armed cop comes to your cop no matter what the issue is, right? Comes to wherever you are. Well, not always when people call 911 are they needing an armed cop. Sometimes they call 911 for all different slew of emergencies, and they always don't need that response. So maybe we need to evaluate how we're dispatching specialized units or whatever for what's happening. So there's just a lot of digging in and evaluating that needs to be done, because for the last 50, 60, 70, 80 years, it's just been, we'll just keep the status quo. Oh, cops are having a hard problem. Let's not look at the laws they're enforcing, or let's look at the society or any of the other issues. Let's just keep throwing more money and hiring more cops and enforcing it harder, better, faster, harder. You know what I mean? I think that this movement is more about let's evaluate what's happening than it is about let's keep going with the status quo. What are your thoughts?
Well, one thing I do want to highlight there, and I'm a little bit of different of opinion here, and we talked about this, I think, earlier in the week, is, every time you call 911, by the way, some people are saying now, actually calling 911 and expecting a police officer to come to your house is white privilege. So, we can unpack that another time, which I thought was very interesting. But in general, you're right about the idea of, if there's a 911 call because your fucking daughter just grabbed fucking the Windex underneath the sink and chugged it or something like that, you should probably call poison control first of all. But if that's a 911 call, you don't necessarily need an armed officer there, right? Now, here's the issue with having somebody come in completely unarmed. I don't think they ever quite really know what they're actually going to be walking into, hence the reason for protection. Some of those people kind of toed it wrong, right? But say if there's a call for something and there's a mild domestic disturbance and you want to send somebody out there that's more of a, let's call them just social worker type person, you could call them over there. If they don't have any way to protect themselves, there is a big likelihood that that could go very south and you could get hurt, or the person you're trying to protect is going to get hurt because that person does pull out a weapon or something like that. My point is like, it'd be really, really hard to kind of differentiate what type of specialized officer you need to send to the scene just based off the call. So that's going to be very tricky, but I do agree with you that that's one of the issues. The other thing that I just want to say in general here, and why people uneducated and people that are just not looking into this deeper really have just a wrong view, is the language itself. And we talked about this a little bit too, right? When you say
it's a little misleading.
It's extremely misleading. I'll just go there, because when you say defund the police, let's just take that literally, okay? When you put defund, that's a removal of funding or an absence of funding. So when the right hears that and they're not digging into that, they're like, what the fuck? And rightfully so, if that's what they were really trying to do, because you're like, what are you doing? And I've talked about this. If anything, we need to pump more money into the police department, but just different programs, right? So defunding, horrible. We should just call it what it is. I know it doesn't sound as sexy, but it's really reforming the police, right? And reforming the laws and how we regulate police officers and things too. I mean, take for instance, one of the big things with the reforming of the police that is awesome is the qualified immunity and getting rid of that.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
That's a big, big step forward though, because now families are able to like prosecute police officers personally, because now they're going to be held personally liable. Guess what? They're going to be held personally liable and responsibility for their own fucking actions, just like every other human being.
Watch out.
And oh my God. But do you think about the George Floyd thing? Think about this Derek son of a bitch piece of shit guy, right? If he knew that he couldn't hide behind pretty much the umbrella of the Minneapolis police department, you might not have these guys so ballsy to get out there and, kind of follow through with their racist fucking violence, right? So that's a big thing. There's other things that they're doing too, but it's definitely more about looking at how we're doing this, the laws that police have to follow, and making sure that they have to be responsible and be held accountable, right, for everything that they do. I love it now. I've sent you the thing about the Colorado law. All cops now are going to be required to have body cams on, like 45 minutes or something like that before they even hit a scene, and then they can't turn them off. I can't even believe that was like an optional thing before. What the fuck, man?
I don't even know why they have an on-off switch. They should just always be on.
Yeah, they should always be on, dude. Yeah. But what were you going to say?
So circling back to the Colorado law, which I did read all of that, and I think a lot of the issue, especially with police brutality, is the blue wall, right? Mm-hmm. Is that they all lie for each other because they don't want anyone to get busted, doing things wrong, whatever. So for decades and decades, they've been just like they're all unity and unified, and they're willing to lie for each other. The interesting thing about the new Colorado law is that officers are required to assist when they see an officer using too much force.
Yes.
Right. And the thing that makes that accountable is that officers are now open to civil litigation for violation of civil liberties. So if an officer not only is violating civil liberties, but a partner witnesses it, doesn't stop it, then they're both opening themselves up to civil litigation. Because I don't know about you, but police unions aren't going to care too much about paying multi-million-dollar lawsuits and settling those out of the courts. So police unions will just go away. Eventually, they'll tank.
And maybe they need to, from what I've heard. Maybe they need to. So there's
not a huge fan of police unions in general.
No, because they're literally just out there, and I get it. They were probably formed just like any other union was originally formed to protect people that maybe, weren't getting equal treatment or whatever it is, or harsh work conditions, what have you. But let's face it, they're nothing but standing up for the good old boys and protecting themselves. You know what I mean? So
they've become the empire state, right?
Exactly.
They've now grown so powerful that they can literally force a police chief to not fire somebody for a direct violation of department code and conduct.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to keep them on staff knowing that they're a shit cop.
Sure.
Because they can't fight the police union.
Yeah.
That's
and
ridiculous.
Here's another thing I thought was really interesting. And don't get me wrong, the Colorado law, I think is probably going to get passed before some of the other states, but it even said in that article too that they did model this off after some other states that are also doing similar reforms to their police department.
Yeah,
right?
New York just proposed one, right? I thought I heard Cuomo up there, telling everyone how amazing he was and about this new law.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's like every Cuomo interview. So I'm just like,
Let me tell you guys how incredible I am at my job.
Seriously. But one of the other things, and I don't know if this is unique to the Colorado law, but again, I found it really interesting. Of course, I'm reading this. I'm like, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. And then I'm thinking to myself, why was that even the case? Here, for instance, now there has to be a third-party independent investigative committee or what have you that goes after and investigates every single case where there is a death or a police shooting, regardless of the type of crime. Beforehand, it was only reserved that these investigations would take place if they were a highly violent crime, right?
Well, and some of the problem with that, Scott, sorry to interrupt, but some of the problem with that is these cops lie on their police reports.
Yeah,
dude, that's like the inherent corruption. I mean, we just saw in Breonna Taylor. Right?
I've had cops lie on their police reports to take me to jail over little ticky-tacky shit. I was calling this one cop out and called him an asshole or whatever like that. He put me in the squad car. I'm like, what am I being taken to jail for? He's like, because you're an asshole. And I was like, okay, that's going to fly. And then just like fudge something up. Of course, the cop never showed up in court. But see, they can kind of get away with that shit because
just to ruin your day.
Yeah, what's the accountability? Because he has a badge, he's got a power trip, and I'm pissing him off right now, so he's taking me to jail regardless of any legality behind it. But that is a very minor thing compared to anything that we're talking about. So I just want to put that back to the side.
But it's still a good example of how cops have that control over your civil liberties, and they can tell you to go fucking kick rocks, and they can take you to fucking jail. They can make you go to court and simply not go and be like, look at how much I inconvenience you. Who's the asshole now? Well, still you, dude. Yeah, exactly. The original accusation stands.
Yeah, like when I was calling you a fucking piece of shit cop, this is what I was thinking of. A guy that would do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So thank you
for proving my point. This is fantastic.
Something else I wanted to pull up here because I thought this was very interesting. One of the biggest changes for the Colorado Senate Bill 217 bans the use of chokeholds and control holds. Now,
can we get that to the UFC?
But I'm waffling on that one a little bit because I thought, I was like, that's good that they keep. I was like, wait a minute. What if some dude is really big and buff and like high on PCP and the cops need to restrain him? Sometimes you're going to have to throw a chokehold on that motherfucker to get him to calm the fuck down, especially if he's like 10 times your size. So either way, that was an interesting one. But this is what I found. This is what I found better. The second part of this really struck me as like, why was this never a thing? Limits when police are allowed to shoot at a fleeing person.
Why is there ever an opportunity that's okay to shoot at someone running away?
Yeah, if you're shooting somebody in the back, already investigation needs to hit hardcore from an independent source, nothing to do with the police department. Internal affairs can fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, that's not an independent source. They are police officers. They still work for the same boss. Can't have that. But yeah, that was very interesting to me. I was like, wow, they're just now putting into place, which again, I think it's fantastic. But there was no limits on shooting a suspect if they were fleeing from you before.
How fucking crazy is that, right? Like, some of these are coming to light. Did you know that states are starting to pass you can't have sex with a woman that you've detained?
What the fuck?
There's like there's a couple dozen states where you can still fuck the person that you've detained. For real. That's legal. And then just say, well, it was consensual.
That's too much, dude.
And I'm serious. I'm 100% serious.
You're fake news.
I forget the case right now that went up. I want to say it was someone in New York. Two detectives, took and raped this girl, and she's like, they raped me, and they're like, well, it was consensual. Like, she was under arrest. Like, you had her handcuffed. What do you? Yeah. Usually when I'm handcuffed, it's consensual too. But still. But I think it's crazy that you have to specifically tell your police officers that, hey, guys, stop fucking your detainees. I think that's a little absurd, but there's literally like people now putting into law because there are a couple dozen states literally, well, it's not a law, so I guess it's okay. I guess I'm gonna fuck this girl. It's like, no, dude, that's called rape.
Again, I know you laughed at me eons ago when I said this on the show, but people are inherently evil and pieces of shit. So this is what happened when they get left unchecked. But again, getting back to it though, it's great. It's great that so many states, Colorado, and I think there's another dozen already that have enacted these. Again, police reforms, people. Police reforms. They're reforming things. They're changing laws. They're making the police more accountable. The other really great one, again, I still, and I knew this was a thing. I can't believe why, but now cops that do something very wrong and get kicked off a certain police force, they can no longer go get a job at another police.
Yeah, because that's about fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, so basically, shitty cops like Derek, piece of shit, could do something, kill an African American, kill a Mexican, kill a white guy, whatever, unlawfully. He could get fucking thrown off the force, maybe something else, slap on the wrist, really, you know what I mean? But then he literally could move to fucking from Minnesota, he could move to fucking Florida and just start being a cop for the Dade County Police in Miami. What the fuck is that?
So I do want to point out, so from our last couple of shows, maybe some of our listeners like, yeah, that Bob's really anti-cop. Fun fact, I'm very pro-cop. In fact, my brother's a lawman. I am so pro-cop. I just want cops to do things the right way, and I want people that hire cops to hire the right men and women that are responsible enough, accountable enough, and intelligent enough to do things the right way. It takes a certain type of person to be a very good cop, and it's a rare person. We should stop hiring any Joe off the street.
Yeah, well, Joe's kind of an asshole anyways. You know what I mean?
Unless it's JoJo 2020.
Plug!
Boom.
Give me the fucking liberty. Yeah, 100%, man. But it's crazy, man. But here's the other thing, though. This is who I think got it wrong so far, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Oh, by the way, just and I appreciate what you said about the police. I don't know what people think here, but I actually, on a whole, I don't really like police. I don't. I respect them. I'm not going to do anything fucking wrong and like try to fuck them up in any way. But it just goes based off of history and my experiences, right?
Sure.
I have a very high ratio when I run into police officers. I don't usually get a ticket and have a nice day. I have usually ended up going to jail. So after that happens so many times, when I see cops, I get a little anxious. I perspirate a little bit. I want to get the fuck out of there. But with that being said, I put myself in those situations. I have never devalued the importance of needing and having police all over the place, right? In every single town. But getting back to who I think got it a little bit wrong, and I'm going to just go ahead and say Minneapolis got it wrong so far. They did dismantle their police force, and now what they're doing is they're asking the public what they should do. Like, where should we fund this money? Who should we do this? I don't know if you saw how they're rolling it out. I think
how would the public know?
Exactly.
And I have like social engineering fucking policing experts.
It's like, hey, buddy, on the street walking by, I know you've got your degree in criminal justice and this and that, right? So let me pick your brain about who should be like, checking to make sure people are going the speed limit now. How should we take care of that? But yeah, what I think is funny is theirs is a knee-jerk reaction, right? And I almost say the way they're doing it is they are, and this may sound bad, but they're completely bowing down to the protesters and saying, you know what? Fuck it. You guys don't like the police? Quit tearing down the city. Police is gone. Now, what do you guys want to replace it with?
It's another knee-jerk reaction, right? You have to do what's best for your municipality going forward for the short and long run.
I think they're doing it for votes.
But what does it matter if you get voted into a city that's tearing itself apart later?
Well, short term, right? Short term knee-jerk right here.
Again, I 100% agree that we need to evaluate how we're handling our laws, how we're handling our police funding, how we're handling our budgets, how we're handling our societal ills in general. I think, Reagan did some right things in the 80s, but one of the worst things he did for this country was the war on fucking drugs, and we're paying for it 30 years later. We need to right that wrong, and we need to address that properly, and I think that's a large chunk of this goes away if we can figure out as a society how we really address drugs, laws around drugs and addicts, rehabilitation, reintegration in society, things like that, that
Mhm.
we've just been ignoring. And we just, well, you're a drug addict, you're a piece of shit, go deal with the fucking cops. If they brutalize you, then fucking hey, you shouldn't have done drugs, right? Well,
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
it's a disease. Like we know 100% it's a disease.
Mhm.
um Individually, every person gets addicted to drugs. It's a mental disease. It's a physical, it becomes a physical disease as well. And there's issues. People can come back from that. People can reintegrate and add value again. You know what I'm saying? So
I've done it. I've done it.
people can still recover from that, but it's about where do we put that investment? What kind of value do we put on them? We need to quit leaving people to the fucking garbage pickup and start investing in our people again. And I think at the core, what I believe in defunding the police, it's not more about defunding the police, it's refunding other people that we've defunded. Let's get education up again. Because the last time I saw some kid applying to Harvard, he wasn't going and like shooting some woman in the face to get into the blood gang.
Yeah, not typically, right? That seems to be not something that's part of the persona, part of the categorization of somebody that's doing that kind of stuff. Is usually they're not a Harvard grad.
No. So, I mean, I
Don't get me
think.
wrong though. What's his name? Brock or whatever, the Ivy League kid.
Wait. Whoa. Wasn't that like Stanford or Princeton or something?
Okay, that's no Harvard.
Come on. But for real, the defunding of education, I think, has caused a huge problem of all of this.
Mhm.
We need to refund education to fix some of these societal diseases that we have instead of throwing money at the cops to handle these uneducated folks. Let's
Well,
educate the people, and then we don't need as many cops.
you're right too, and the other thing too is if you don't have these things funded enough about rehabilitation and all these things that we're talking about, and I don't want to just talk about the war on drugs or anything like that, but basically what cops are left doing up until this point, right, is there are all these things that they just have to deal with because everything is left unchecked because there's nobody that there's not enough resources and programs to help people. So cops end up by default picking up the pieces. They're not fully trained in how to handle these situations, so they're actually doing what they fucking can with what they have.
We ask way too much of our police.
We ask way too much, and we don't nearly pay them enough. So when I think about reforming, I say, hey, all these things that we're talking about, the Colorado, other states are doing, hold these police more accountable. Do not let them fucking ping pong to different fucking police forces when they're a bad apple. Get those fuckers out, flush them out, make them accountable, put them in jail, whatever you have to do. That's going to take more money. So it's a reformation of where the funds go, right? So that's really what it should be called, is reforming the police, not defunding the police. It's very misleading. And I think we need to give cops more money. I don't think we need to slash their budgets at all. We just need to reallocate where their budgets are going. And one of their things on top of everything that they're doing, which looks really good, is we need to pay them more. I'm still going to say that.
So here's kind of my thoughts on the paying them. Doctors make a lot of money, right? A doctor makes at least $100,000, if not up to $250,000 a year, right? For
Sure.
Surgeons and stuff.
Depending on what their specialty is.
They literally have to go to school for 12 years, do 4 years of college, do another 4 to 6 years after that to
Then
do
residency.
med school and a specialty and residency. So they're like pushing 30 by the time they're like a legit doctor, right? Making that money. So if we're going to pay a police officer $100,000, then that's a fucking elite job. You got to be an elite man to handle that, like a doctor. You're going to make that money, you got to earn that money, and then we can hire those folks. And it's going to require a lot of education, a lot of certifications, a lot of continuing education, a lot of mental health checks. Why? If you get into a skirmish in the military, do they have you go to a shrink? And if you're mentally unstable and you could be a threat and a liability to the rest of your squad, they will discharge you for medical reasons.
Sure.
For pensions.
Yeah.
Why does that not happen with police officers when they're in charge of similar liabilities? Why does the fear of a court-martial and everything keep military folks in line, but then cops can run amok? You know what I mean? It's very, very strange.
It is very strange because, I mean,
cops make twice as much as those military guys making.
Yeah, and again, I think we talked about this in our last episode too. there needs to be a reformation of just not just how the police force works and the laws there, but there needs to be a reformation of what it means to be a police officer. Right now, like we talked about on the previous episode, sometimes, and I'm not saying this for everybody, but sometimes it's a fallback. It's a fallback thing, right? I fucked up at this. I didn't do this. You know, I need to get my shit together and be a cop. That's great. That's great. It's to help that person out. That got him a job and everything. But having that be like a common thing, we're not going to get like the cream of the crop here and the people that we're looking for, because they're not really putting in a lot of effort to do it, right? We want to have something where, like we were talking about last time, when somebody says, yeah, man, I'm trained to be a police officer, you should get the same response when somebody tells you, yeah, I'm in med school. You know, people usually are like, oh, wow, good for you, man. Fuck yeah. You know?
Yeah. Like the reaction to I'm in the police academy, you're like, oh, wow, that's fucking A.
Yeah, that's intense,
what
man.
What a great
Cool.
choice for you. That's
Yeah.
bold. That's a hard work right there.
When in your past did you feel you wanted to go down this track? Because it's actually a long, hard track to get there, right? Just like being a doctor.
Of respectable public service, right? Instead of kind of how it's treated these days of I'm going to go, you know, be a guard at a prison for a while, but I'll go be a cop and whatever, because I'll get a raise. And it should be a little bit different. It should be a career choice. There should be purpose to that decision. And you should be held to a higher standard, and you should be able to deliver that higher standard.
Yeah.
I think we've beat this up enough.
Oh, Jesus. Great choice of words, Bob.
You're welcome for that. You're welcome.
I think we beat this homeless man up enough.
I think we brutalized this topic enough.
Why not? Shit.
No, just kidding. Well, I just our show's, you know, running pretty long at this point, and I don't want to hold everyone here for indefinite. And I wanted to talk about a couple of other things as we wrapped up, unless you have something really pressing that you wanted to say on top of what we've already spoken about.
No.
Okay, then. So coming up soon, I wanted to let the Steffies know that we're going to be recording shorts for the Short and Staff. There's already a couple up there. Mm-hmm. And from the 2 subscribers, since they're probably me and Scott, I'm guessing that no one has really checked it out. So we'll start pushing the Short and Staffs a little bit. There's a couple videos there. Of course, that's after they clear Patreon. But we're going to start putting how these drinks are made that we have every show. So we're going to start, you know, making the drinks and making little videos about, you know, kind of how we're bartending. And we'll start showing you guys how we make these drinks in case, well, I'm not going to say that our Stiffies don't read, because I know that above all the people, you folks are the ones that do read. So thank you for that. But we are going to make videos about how to make these drinks.
The biggest reason behind it, too, is, you know, visual aids are fun for everybody, and visual aids are fantastic for kids. And as you know, Bob, it's all about the kids.
It is always about the kids. And it gives us another reason to drink midweek.
Well, actually, just getting done with work gives me another reason to drink midweek, but we won't go far into that one.
You wait till you're done with work. Good for you.
Good for you. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I think that about wraps this one up, man. Excited that we don't really have a timeline on that yet, but we're going to kick that off. We're going to be starting to make the drinks. I know that I'm going to be starting to tailor my bar a little bit more for the viewing pleasure of the drink making, which will be very, very fun, Bob. But beyond that, my friend, this was a good one, man. I had a good time. I always love chatting with you, Bob. It's fun. It's stimulating. You know what I mean?
It is. It's always this anticipation pre-show of how's it going to go. And we weren't 100% today, and that's okay. The bottom line is that we have the microphone and you guys don't. So you'll listen to every damn word we have to say.
That's like the Chevy Chase line. I'm Chevy Chasing. You're not. Love that. Love that.
So that about wraps it up. Remember to review us on iTunes and write a little handy dandy comment on there. Your reviews really do matter for us on iTunes. And, you know, tell your friends. We're growing the show. We're growing it.
Yeah, and I want to thank too. There's been more commenting activity on the recent YouTube episodes, which has been fun just to get a little bit more involved with the Stiffies in general, guys. So don't remember to like, subscribe, ring that bell, get on there, check us out on the podcast platforms. I don't give a shit. Just listen to our stupid asses talk because we enjoy that, right?
Yeah, and comment on YouTube because you got to get at us while we're growing, because there'll come a point in time where we won't be able to respond to every comment.
Yeah, I'm gonna have
that time is not now. We can still reply to you guys.
Yeah, I'll be having my assistant do my responses here pretty soon, hopefully.
Oh, I'll have a Twitter team like Trump does.
All right,
guys. Well, thank you so much, Scott. It's been wonderful talking to you today, sir. So thank you so much for your time, and you as well, Stiffies. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we will. Oh, I've almost forgot. We have a special mid episode. We interviewed Evan Webb. We talked a lot about racial inequality and racism in America. So please check the show. It's on all platforms and channels.
It's already up.
It's already up there. So enjoy that. And on that note, I will see you all next week.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
I just want you to know that it's all about the kids.
It's always about the kids. Zip truth, the 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 zip truth.